taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for May 19th, 2018. My name is Ashenity, powered by Pure Hype as always, and I'm here with resident AI, absolutely legitimate human person, Cybsidian.
Hello, how are you today? Weather is great.
Yeah,
Shall we commence with the discussion?
You've got to use inflection or people aren't going to buy it.
Right. Sorry, how is everybody today, and how is that wonderful weather outside? And oh my goodness, I was so annoyed this morning.
Why?
Well, so get this. I as always, check my email, check my other email, check my other email, check my other email for like news and information from sources and friends and all this kind of stuff. And then I usually check the web, just searching for news and stuff. And I came across a new hot leak for Cyberpunk 2077 from a website that I will not name because I don't want you guys to go there because it was really a waste of time. And they said, big bold letters, release date on their article. So I'm like, oh my goodness, these guys got the release date? Well, let's see if they got it right. I mean, let's see if
that would be
within what I'm thinking for me, that it'll be. So I pop on over, scroll down, release date, big bold letters. There is no official release date yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's your news.
That's
your news. That you don't have any news, and this is what you're clickbaiting me with.
Well, that is kind of
so not happy.
That is almost newsworthy this week, is that there is really nothing to talk about for Cyberpunk 2077 this week, which is unfortunate. But I mean, I don't know. Calm before the storm, as always, before E3. Although, well, do you think we're going to see something before E3 for them, or are they going to keep everything under wraps until we get there?
Most everybody does release some of their teasers right before the event, especially if it's a big AAA title, like we saw with Bethesda, what they did with Fallout 4 and what they've done with Rage now too.
Yeah.
Or should I say Rage 2 now as well? Haha. So we'll probably, there's a good chance. I've been saying for a while that I suspect strongly that they will put out a little teaser right before EA, especially if they have a teaser, trailer, and gameplay. Then they'll do probably teaser first, they'll do the trailer, and then they'll do the gameplay throughout the week, and they'll kind of drop one after the other. Because it's not great. It's not great when you do teaser, trailer, gameplay all in the same sitting. You go up to do one of the press conferences and you release them all there.
Right.
It's like, why release three of them there? And you see this every now and then. They do two of them, they do a trailer, and then they do gameplay. And it's like, really, you could have just done just the one thing. Like, why go back and forth between the big, the big TV and then talking to the audience and stuff like that? But it does tend to work. So,
right.
So there's like gameplay highlight footage. That's a little bit different because that's kind of like an outro, like what Bethesda did with Fallout 4, is they did they did their preview thing, then they did the bunch of gameplay, and then they finished off with like a gameplay highlights kind of thing at the end.
Who could forget the guy wearing the dress and then the damaged bear mascot head, the bear and suit. That stuck with me. I don't know. They picked the most bizarre things for him to wear, and that's still just emblazoned on my brain. So if you're listening live this morning, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. Super chats and questions from patrons are guaranteed to be read out loud on today's show, as long as they conform to basic standards of human decency. Speaking of patrons, we have a new episode of Arbitrary Scoring out. We did The Witcher 3 this time. That's out right now for patrons, and it'll be the public version goes live Monday morning. So, and according to the Mad Queen herself, it's better than the Tomb Raider one. So, and she liked the Tomb Raider one. So,
well, let's hope
that's high praise coming from her. So,
well, and of course now, mind you, again for the chat rules, that's just so that YouTube doesn't ban us, and for the And then for the Patreon, that's just to make sure that we didn't like flub anything before we release it to the public. So, anyways, if you like to help us be our test audience, then yeah, Patreon, great place for $1.
And let's see, we got a bunch of hellos. Hello, Tom. Hello, demonetization is for you. Your name always gives me a slight cringe, but I hope demonetization's not for us. I hope you're not bringing it on. But anyway, great to see you in the chat. And Ascended Limbo, Dancing on the Ashes, great to see you folks here. So, number of things to talk about today. First off, quick thing about Prey, because there's been hints that we're going to be seeing some Prey DLC that and hinting that
just a few hints. Oh yeah. My goodness, like
just a few hints. Anyway, there's and it's been hinting, of course, that it's looking like the Prey DLC is going to take place on the moon, or at least incorporate that in some way, which would make sense because one of the things they did in the vanilla game for Prey was they played around with gravity a lot, like just shifting between different gravity situations, and that was a really neat aspect of the game. And anyway, if you go to Steam right now and then look at the Prey page with all of the achievements, there are some new achievements that have been added, and they're very bizarrely named. It's just a list of them that say, if you believed they put a man on the moon. So there you go. They're definitely teasing at something, and they're definitely teasing us with this moon stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the first Prey, and I want to see where they're going with the story. I was a little disappointed with how the vanilla game ended, but who knows what's going to happen with the DLC? Who knows what's going to happen with the story there?
I did like the twist, although the twist should have been like, the twist could have been like a bigger build up and a bigger like thing to it. It wasn't nearly as shocking as some of the other twists that I saw. They should have gotten M. Night Shyamalan in there. I don't know how to say his name. But yeah, the overall game. So I think this will be good. We'll see how it's going. So other than that, we've got some Bethesda news, or rather lack of news. And in this particular instance, a lack of information gives you as much information as sometimes a tease or a sneak. And that is that they have, it has leaked that the release date for Rage 2 is going to be 2019. This was leaked through a variety of, mainly one source for a retailer. Again, I don't know what it is with retailers.
These retailers, they're just...
But they have a placeholder date. Yeah, they have a placeholder date for 2019. Now, the placeholder date, the actual month and day, is up for, it's up in the air. We don't know exactly when, but it does look like Rage 2 is definitely slated for 2019, probably early in the year, because Bethesda probably wouldn't tease it or announce it and then wait over a year to put it out. That's just not Bethesda style. Bethesda does not do things like that. They prefer, very strongly to focus on putting out their game and their content, with very short cycles between. So I'm actually a little bit surprised that it's being announced, if it is indeed coming in 2019, and would have expected it to maybe.
Yeah, how reliable is that leak?
Pretty solid.
Coming
pretty
2019. Solid.
Yeah,
okay.
I talked to some other friends in the retail side of things, and it looks like that is the way that it's going to go for sure.
Okay.
So kind of expected that, but from there, we can look at the generalized news and information that the game has, and kind of makes sense that probably a 2019 release is decent. Gives the studio a little bit of that extra time that particular studio typically needs, because they haven't really gone through a big hiring push. So looking at it very logically, seems to be that. So then that leaves this big space, both on the floor at E3, at the convention where they're doing the presser, and then also in the release window for 2018, for there to be a big game to come out. The fact that that if none of these games are coming out for the the November holiday release cycle, then they clearly have something else up their sleeve. Now, as you said, that could be Prey, the Prey DLC, but they're more than willing to do another game. I think a main game, and I think that's this Starfield / whatever new project that Bethesda is working on. And in fact, Bethesda Game Studios could be working on something other than Starfield, but at this point, it's kind of getting to the point where, like, yeah, we all know you're working on this project called Starfield. It's the signs are there. The signs are not there for anything else. We are honestly especially at this point in the game, because if you remember back to Fallout 4, we'd already received a teaser, and they were dropping weekly concept art for us to look at leading up to E3. So if indeed, and then of course all the websites that were getting bought up, all the controls that had happened right before that, it's possible that they might have something that's not Starfield. That's and again, we might see a new Elder Scrolls game. I really doubt it. I can't stress to you how unlikely that is to happen, but it's still there. It still is a possibility. Heard somebody else saying the other day that, oh, we're going to get a new Fallout game, and I'm like, I really doubt that they'll go from working on Fallout 4 to working on Fallout 5. That's just not their MO. That's just not the way that they build these games. It's not the way that they release these games. And like, my goodness, that would just be.
And we're talking about the Bethesda Game Studios.
We're talking about Todd Howard's
studio. Yeah, like, so we're not talking like there's Bethesda the publishing company, which has a bunch of subsidiaries and sister studios under ZeniMax that Bethesda publishes for a bunch of other companies. They're going to be publishing Rage 2. They're not developing Rage 2, etc., etc. So Prey is from Arcane. So if there's Prey DLC coming up, obviously we'll see that under the Bethesda banner, even though that's not it's not being developed in-house by Bethesda. What we're talking about now with Starfield and whatnot is what is being developed in-house by Bethesda. We think that it's a project that's either named or codenamed Starfield, and there's some debate about whether or not that could be a code name, but we don't know what that is. That's another thing. That's an important thing to point out here. I mean,
there's some leaks, there's some generalized information, there's some people saying that Starfield is actually that it's going to be Elder Scrolls Starfield, and there was this hilarious edit that somebody did of a guy in a spacesuit, and then they attached the Elder Scrolls 6 beside it, and it's like, yeah, okay, sure, guys, sure, yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's
it.
They're gonna.
I was watching a video.
They're gonna go forward 5,000 years in the timeline to when people are in Cyrodiil are flying around in spaceships. Yeah, okay. That I'm sure that wouldn't just absolutely ruin everything for the fans. Period.
Well, probably not. But the stars do play a big role in the lore in Elder Scrolls. I was watching a video about it, and it's quite deep.
Oh yeah, because they're not. It's like any other high fantasy thing. They're not technically other stars in the way that you think of stars in this world. So yeah, there's some stuff that can be going on there with that easily.
So I mean, anyway, could be. That's a possibility. But I mean, the bottom line is we don't know what they've got. We don't know what they're cooking up. But all the evidence is pointing to them cooking something up in-house at Bethesda Game Studios that we're going to likely see, that we're almost definitely going to see at E3. And then you were saying you had some ideas about when that would release then, due to the circumstantial evidence around it.
Yeah, so I'm at this point, I'm pretty positive that we are going to see this whatever game this Bethesda Game Studios is working on, we're going to see it announced and released for the fall. And this is pretty much for sure now. This is a solid bet that I would take, primarily because they've left this big window open. Todd is not the sort to announce a game over a year before it's due out. He just would, and I think that's why we saw it canned last year, because they decided to put another year of development on it. So that's why it got shortened up, and that's why Pete didn't have anything to say and why he was flustered and all this other stuff. So yeah, I think at this point it's pretty much a guarantee. We are definitely going to see this new, whatever this new game is, and it's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, we'll see that for sure in this fall. So that this is something that a couple other YouTubers kind of had mentioned and kind of figured out, but at this point, it's like it's plainly obvious to anybody in the industry that this is what they're going for. We are going to get a new game, and it's going to be big, and it's going to upset my entire gaming year because I had everything planned out. That's like in 2015, had everything planned out, and then boom, Fallout 4 comes out. So it's like, love it when you just ruin my day, as far as like my plans. Not make my day horrible, because I expect this game to be great. But yeah, as far as ruining my plans, yes, I'm sure my plans will be ruined.
But by the way, if you're looking for some games to play leading up to E3, there are some fantastic deals on Humble Bundle right now. I picked up 3 games last night for $20 US. Both Borderlands games and Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which surprised me how cheap that one was. So, yeah, definitely check that out. There are, I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of games on sale there right now. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something to play.
Yeah, and this leads us into our next thing, is that we have, I don't know how many people are a fan of the old Age of Wonders, but we have a brand new Age of Wonders game coming out that just got announced like literally 4 or 5 hours ago. It's called Age of Wonders Planetfall. It will contain a new direction as far as like setting. It's going to actually be a future setting, talking about, having just talked about, how Bethesda is not going to do a couple thousand years skip into the future. But this is a 4X game that's lore is like generally connected. It's not super connected. So we will see this. This is going to be really interesting, really different. I'm really excited to see what direction that they go with this. And judging from the screenshots, if you follow the link that should be in the description, you will see this will take you to the site. Let me just repost it in chat. And yeah, you can see what this kind of what the art style and the look is going for. And I can't seem to post that in chat. So
what?
Yeah.
Do you not have the permissions?
Well,
here, I'll put it here. So that is that's a link to the announcement trailer. Is that the link you wanted me to post?
Nope. That's
okay.
This link. So that will take you to their webpage, and also there's a reference for us, so that we can, if you use that references us, and then we can hopefully get some more info on the game that way. So it's looking really good. There's a couple screenshots that you can unlock right now, and it's definitely like the style that you enjoy those type of 4K games out of. I really, really like that style. It looks really good. Looks kind of a little bit almost XCOM-ish like. So yeah, it's I'm excited for it.
All right, it's not letting me post this in the description either. So I don't know. There's something about the link that YouTube doesn't like. It's chewing it up and spitting it out. But I'm gonna add it to the description right now.
So then, yeah, that's, I mean, this year in gaming is looking absolutely huge. There is a whole bunch of other games. I'll just quickly go over this kind of as a highlight for E3. We are expecting to see Division 2. Some people are calling and saying that it's going to be exactly like Division 1, and I think that the reason why they're making another Division game is because they have petered out the audience on Division 1. They messed up royally in the release. However, the latest game is apparently great and a lot of fun. So there's also some people going, oh, they won't learn any of those lessons that they learned from number 1. And it's like, well, no, I'm pretty sure that what we will have going forward is going to be a much better experience, and they're going to incorporate a lot of those lessons from number 2. Now, you don't always see this. Destiny is prime example, but I mean, Destiny is something where they tried to include things that were untested And I think that at this point, Ubisoft has kind of learned its lesson as far as like trying untested money grubbing things. But who knows? It's Ubisoft. They might not have learned anything at all. You never know. So we definitely have like a ton of new stuff coming. We have quite possibly an announcement coming for a release date. You cross your fingers here for Death Stranding. We might also see Final Fantasy, was it 16 now? Sheesh. We might see something like that come out. We're definitely going to see this new, a whole bunch of other stuff, like the new Splinter Cell game. There's going to be a whole bunch of other games, possibly a new Dragon Quest revamp coming, which I still find that one really shady, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to check that out. And then it's such a packed schedule for this E3 that I can't even keep track of everything that is potentially coming out. This is definitely going to be the one of the heaviest E3s I think in a very long time, unless Microsoft does something really amazing for the next like year or two. But I kind of doubt that. They're kind of like flapping their wings without actually going anywhere. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see with that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and let us know in chat if there's anything you would like us to discuss, anything you want to talk about. Let us know. We've covered almost all of the news we have from this week. Unfortunately, we do have a couple more.
It's this calm before the storm. It's this calm before the storm that happens. It's like right before EA. We're getting these teasers and these peaks. But there are a couple other games I want to talk about. So State of Decay 2, more and more people are getting their hands on it in more and more what's looking like the release version of the game. And it's not looking great. It's looking good. It's not looking like it's going to break the genre and the series, but it is looking like it's going to be a very successful follow-up to the first game and is going to hold the spirit of the first game very, very well.
Okay.
There's been a few problems with the tethering when you're joining somebody else's game. It's about 400 meters, which is honestly, it's not as big of a deal as some people have said. Is some people were like, yeah, I'd take 5 steps to the right of the guy and I vanished. Like, that was obviously a lie and bad journalism. It's 400 meters, which is pretty decent. However, it's unlikely that you don't want to be driving vehicles in that, because that is where you're going to be, like, you're going to have if you have 2 vehicles, if everybody's in 1 vehicle, obviously it's fine. But if you are in 2 vehicles and you separate for a couple of blocks, then poof, you're going to get kicked from the game, and then you're going to abandon your friend in the game, and they're going to get their face chewed off by a rageful zombie. So there's that. Yeah, there's
Realism,
that. There's
immersion.
Yeah. there's been a lot of complaints as to there's not much to do in the game, that basically you're just going out, gathering supplies, doing these random quests that are all very, very similar and mostly just fetch quests.
I don't
and
like
then you run
that.
back. Yeah, and then you run back to the NPC. And then for some reason the NPC just walks off in a random direction and usually gets killed by zombies. So it's like
I'm getting a Sea of Thieves vibe from what you're describing, which is not making me happy.
Well, this is Microsoft Studios. They are putting this thing out. Now, as far as like that, taking that into account, how much does it cost? But it's like $30. So that's pretty decent for a game that, if you want to play lightly with your friends, to kind of have a communal experience, and you want to kind of play from the experience of having played the first game, which I should mention was also a very cheap game and was a very good game for what you paid for. It was basically nothing. So
okay, well, that's fair. I mean,
putting these things together, you have a cheap game. It would be different if this was a $60 or $70 game, but this is a pretty cheap game, and it looks pretty decent. And I don't necessarily recommend that you purchase the highest advanced package that you can. Like, just if you're questionable, if any of these have raised warning signs for you, just wait until it's cheap. Just wait until it comes out for cheap. And if you have an Xbox, I definitely suggest it would be definitely a good game to pick up. But if you're a PC player, you may want to wait until they branch it off to a Steam version. Right now they're saying, oh no, it's going to be Windows 10 and Xbox exclusive. However, if the sale numbers don't do well, there's this giant audience on Steam that have been demanding this game for a really long time, and I find it hard to believe that they would be willing to let that all go and let this game kind of fall by the wayside simply by the fact that they didn't want to release it onto Steam. So we'll see. We'll see if this is Microsoft really honestly trying to, put its foot in the ground, draw a red line in the sand and say, no, this is my games. We're building our empire here, and we're refusing to play ball with any of you people who are not willing to play on Windows 10 and want to use something called Steam. Like, if that's the case, then yeah, it's
some little third-party program.
Yeah. So we might scale back on what we're going to do with the game. We'll at least kind of get a generalized review of it out and get a good look at it. And if it's really great, then yeah, we'll pop into it a little bit more. But just right now it's looking like there's a handful of warning signs. So take that with a grain of salt if you want. If you think it's going to be a good game, give it a shot. But yeah, it does look like a good game for what it is and for what it is in the series, and for being that this is Undead Labs' like second game. This is really good, even if it comes with all these problems and issues. But considering that it's for some people it's a $25 game, easy peasy, right? So yeah, that's where I go with that. Now let's talk about another game that's getting it's good but it's not great tag, and that is Bless Online. We have been asked to be emissaries on Bless Online, and we're taking them up on the offer, at least for now. We don't actually get anything free out of it, which was kind of sad, but at the same time it's
we're not
dicks.
Yeah.
We're not dicks. We're not complaining that there were some people who were chosen for emissary and they're like, man, I have to buy a copy of the game. Yeah, for like, again, $30. Like,
which is not bad. That's and then that's not a problem. But I mean, being an emissary for the game, I wish they would have said, hey, you can get it 2 weeks early so you can actually kind of get familiar with it. I mean, I suppose there wouldn't be anybody on the servers, but
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like they even dropped the price of their biggest founders pack from $200 down to $149, and there were a lot of people saying $200 for an MMO game or for a pre-order, that's ridiculous. No, that's pretty common. Fortnite had the same package. Crowfall right now has the exact same package. There's a whole bunch of other games on Steam right now that have $200 pre-order packages. That's not new, but they weren't offering a ton of stuff. So they did say, yeah, 200 is a little high. We're going to drop it down to $150. So that makes it a little bit better if you tend to shell out $200 for a release game. If you don't, their other packages are actually pretty darn cheap. So taking that into consideration, you can sit there and say, well, okay, there's the standard edition, deluxe edition, the collector's edition. If you're just interested in this, if you're interested in playing a new MMO and you don't want to play one that's been out for years or one that's come out just recently and received absolutely horrible reviews, then try this, get the standard edition, and give this a shout. Because what I'm hearing, and I'm hearing this from pretty much everybody who's gotten a chance to play it, I'm seeing this from what I'm seeing as far as the videos that people are putting out of the content, not the Korean and not the Japanese version, this new American version. And what I'm hearing from everybody is that this game is a good MMO. It's a good game, and it's enjoyable, and it's fun to play. And it has this old sense of community-driven interaction, not community-driven content, which can be just terrible in some cases, but community-driven communities. And that's a really good thing. That's what you play MMOs for. So we're hearing that a lot of like, oh yeah, it's good, it's not great, and it doesn't change anything majorly, which is what I've been saying for for almost a decade now, is that MMOs can't change beyond what they currently are. They can't incorporate something new and exciting that nobody's ever seen before, because the technology doesn't allow you to. There's a limit into how much they can throw at these MMOs. There's a limit to how much you can do in these MMOs. If you make it completely sandbox, your community drives the game, and if your community turns sour even for a minute, it's gone. If you make it this kind of like hybrid, you get Arcade, and you get like these vast areas that are just empty and woefully, undesirable, and you get tons of these loading screens. This game doesn't have any of those things. This game has a great, what people are calling a great community-driven experience, as far as communicating and as far as experiencing dungeons and fun and stuff like that. So it looks like it's going to do really, really well. So keep that in mind. And if you are a fan of MMOs, you're not going to get anything new. You're going to get a great MMO that's designed to be a great toss-up experience between WoW and Terra. You're going to put those two together, and you basically get what this game is. So, again, this thing could crash and burn next week, or, well, not next week, because it's not out next week. This thing could crash and burn in the first month, or it could do really, really well. And so we'll see kind of where it goes from there.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, Vampyr. Now let's talk Vampyr, because this is this game is actually more up our alley than most of these other games.
Yes, thanks for mentioning that in the chat, Tom, by the way.
Yes.
Comes out very soon, June 5th. Could be an interesting RPG with heavy story and creative take on difficulty.
Yeah.
Set by
We've been
player
talking about this game for a while, back and forth, but we haven't gotten. It's not like it's a big AAA title that's like waiting in the wings and everybody's excited by this. This is actually a pretty low key game. I suspect that we will see hopefully a lot more of it at E3, but it actually does come out on June 5th. So this is going to be a good one. I'll let you talk about this one, because I'm excited for this one, but I probably won't play it as much as you will.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. I think the concept of it, the premise of it, is fascinating. As Thomas is fascinating, as Tom in the chat has mentioned here. So, difficulty set by player choices on becoming more powerful, feeding off of more or less innocents who, at the same time, he is trying to save from an epidemic. So, the concept is you're a doctor who is a vampire, and it's set during this disease epidemic. And so, excuse me, I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting moral gray areas and interesting player choices and fascinating stuff. Plus, the setting just looks really cool. I believe it's kind of a Victorian setting. I could be wrong about that. But definitely, I think this sort of creeping through the night as a vampire and then being a doctor by day kind of thing, I think sounds absolutely just really neat concept. And Notional saying, wonder why we haven't heard anything about Vampyr. And it's concerned that
they don't have a massive budget. That's the primary thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, and we are trying to get review keys for it, but like on our sites and tools that we use to connect with game developers, we've been seeing this everywhere there. So they're really trying to connect it with content creators. So that's probably going to be a good chunk of their marketing, is by getting it out to the YouTubers and the streamers and stuff. So hopefully that'll really bolster what their audience for the game and the people that'll buy it. So, and like I said, we're trying to get review keys for it. So hopefully we'll have content we can put up as soon as the embargo lifts, as soon as the game is available. So really, I'm actually going to check on that as soon as the podcast is done here, because I've been following that one for I don't know, probably over a year now, because it does look really neat.
People, they're like, oh, vampires that have a hard time living in a city. I find that almost laughable. vampires could very well and easily fit into society without actually having to prey on anybody, unless of course they're the type of vampire who actually needs to suck the life force out of somebody as well as their blood, in which case probably we enter some more difficult area. Because there's been this story in the news lately about a particular person in high end politics who, in order to stay young, is rumored to have a basically a blood bag person, which just like their sole duty is to keep their body as clean and as healthy as they can, and then they give they give a pint or something like that every day or two of blood, and this very, very elderly person takes the blood and gets a transfusion with it, and it helps them stay younger and live healthier and deals with like cholesterol and this other stuff.
7 people you could possibly be talking about.
So this is I mean, this is kind of hilarious in our world, but it's like clearly you can. I
know Chanel's wondering if you're speaking from experience about all this vampire stuff.
Possibly, but still, it's really funny to hear this and to see this kind of commentary on this now. It's really hilarious to me, at least. But yeah, it's
like you have no idea how we operate. I mean, how vampires operate. Yeah.
So I'm excited for this game. I think it'll be good. I was kind of hoping that they would have some more character options, but it's a very linear, very like story focused game. So that probably not going to happen, which is kind of sad that wouldn't be a thing.
Like having custom character creation, I mean that's a I think a bigger thing than we imagine. To implement that into a game. And so when you have a relatively low budget game and they want to create a really good story and setting, they don't have a lot of resources to do the character creation, and I'm fine with that. I mean, you look at Witcher 3, it won Game of the Year and was absolutely fantastic, amazing game, even without any character optimization or options for that. And I know that you're less inclined to play a game, you specifically, Cyber, are less inclined to play a game where you don't have character creation options, but it doesn't bother me at all. As a matter of fact, I get overwhelmed if there are too many options, and I'm like, just.
Well, I mean, really, all it is not. It's not as complicated as that. The only complication is swapping out the character model, which is not that hard at all. And then the other thing, which is a lot more difficult, is you do have to pull in multiple voice actors to do the main character. And we see in Fallout 4, and we see in even the last Dragon Age game, Inquisition, how big of a task that is. And then also how much content you miss. Like, there are 4 voice options for your main character in Dragon Age Inquisition, and I have only heard one. I have only ever played through one because I only listened to that one single voice character that I like, and then that's it.
There's also a story aspect that enters into it. Like, depending on the story you're trying to tell, it might not make sense to swap, a male character with a female character, something like that. I mean, yeah, you could. It's possible that you could definitely. You could definitely modify your story to do that, and it worked well with Prey. I will say it worked really well with Prey. You could play as the female or the male version, and it made no difference at all. So I guess it depends what kind of story they're trying to tell. Like Kingdom Come Deliverance, for example. Basically the story's about a male character. Like, you couldn't swap it out with a female and have everything still make sense and be historically accurate. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Pineapple Cow, streamer's safe name, nice name, is asking, when is the Prey DLC? It'll be Most
most
likely it's going to be out in 2018. Yeah. I mean, that seems to be Bethesda's MO, and we don't know any specifics on that. But near the beginning, we talked about the tease, like the new tease on Steam. They added a bunch of achievements that just say, if you believed. They put a man on the moon, which is a song lyric, I believe.
Yeah, and they've had a recent patch for Prey 2, which seems to be an operational patch to make the game connect better and easier with the DLC. So I would suspect heavily that the just like the AAA titles, when it comes to like Fallout and Elder Scrolls games, they are not going to announce a DLC a year before they do it.
Yeah, it'll be out quick. It'll be out pretty quick.
That's just not how they, Bethesda. Very few games actually operate on that level.
Nobody wants to wait around for a DLC for months and months or years. Like, that's just not going to happen. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss news-wise?
Well, not so much. We've got some generalized like E3 content and press that is going to be happening. We're going to be covering E3. We have people on the ground. We are also going to be here live streaming it as well. So that way we're not confined or trying to do a podcast or a discussion video in the middle of the show floor, which is not very easy to do. So we're going to be able to get the information right away. We're going to be getting interviews and stuff like that. It's going to be uploaded to us here, and then also to Upper Echelon, which is a great channel as well. And also some of the other content, there's a good chance that it will be getting and be being put up on the Mad Queen's channel as well. We're going to try and cover this as quickly and as efficiently as we can. So keep us dialed in here, because we're going to have it on here and then also on our Twitch. We're going to be streaming it as much as possible, and we're going to be discussing a lot of stuff. We're going to be having interviews that are going to be recorded at the show floor that we're going to be posting up here and other places. So yeah, stick here. We will update you guys constantly on what's going on. It's looking great. We're going to have there's going to be so much awesome stuff this year. We're going to see something cool for Fortnite. Fortnite's a pretty fun game. So yeah, I'm excited to see that. I'm hoping that they're going to announce their free-to-play of the Save the World thing. Right now, you still have to buy your way into Save the World, and I think that if they can get that out sooner rather than later, I think that it'll actually be really, really good for the population there. So yeah, and some changes. They've been bringing in some new skins and some new characters and some new stuff, and it looks like we're going to be having it looks like there's going to be a ton more content added to that. And then all the other games that are going to be coming out, both the big ones, the small AAAs, the smaller single A's, and then the indie developers as well. Everybody seems to have some great content coming.
Pineapple Cow, do you think we will be able to use our save files that we already started for Prey? If you can't, then Bethesda will be getting an angry letter. But I guess it depends on if it's going to be the same character and going to play off of your choices in the main game, or if it's going to be completely like a standalone thing, which I could see them going either way. Like, it'd be interesting to see how on earth they would integrate new content into the story, because it was a very self-contained story, but I suppose we could definitely be surprised by that. Dancing on the Ashes says, having you guys as sportscasters live would be great. Well, thank you for the compliment. And you mean live on the ground at E3? That would be a lot of fun. Hopefully someday.
Also, if you didn't miss it, by the way, another game that I'm looking forward to this year is going to be Monster Hunter Worlds, or World, however you say that. Did you all know that there's a movie coming out about this game, and
really?
that Mila Jovovich has just signed up for being the star in the Monster Hunter movie?
I have not heard of that. No.
Like this is very interesting. I'm gonna be watching this with some very very fine-tuned interest because this is hilarious. But anyways,
so it's a movie
it's a
based
movie,
on the
live
game.
action movie based on Monster Hunter World.
Okay.
Yeah, it's made so much money that they've decided to do a film for it, and
which is always a good idea when companies decide to do that.
Like
So
I don't know.
He said sarcastically.
I feel Mila and her husband and her team have done an okay job with Resident Evil. It's definitely one of the more successful game to movie switches. It was great. It's great to see it do well, but it did not stick to the lore at all. By the time like the third movie rolled around, it was completely out the window. And by the time like the latest movie, which is number 5 or 6, I can't remember even, it's just like all connection to the original source material is just gone at that point. It's like a handful of names and that's about it. A handful of names plus zombies. That's about all you get for that. So
right,
yeah.
The tiny indie game To the Moon is getting a movie as well. Yeah, I saw that earlier as well, Notional. And and as an anime. I trust a movie based on a smaller indie game more than I would a movie based on a big AAA title. Because with the AAA title, you're gonna have the big studio that owns the IP involved, and that's just, we've seen many examples of how that fails. But I'm super looking forward to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie whenever that actually happens, because Scott Cawthon's involved in that. So I'm looking forward to that one. Hopefully that'll be a good film based on the game. And actually the Witcher TV series I think could be very very good as well, because CD Projekt Red treats their IP obviously with a lot of respect. So all right. Well,
the Warcraft movie was just
yeah.
They should have not have gone so far back in the timeline. They should have just stuck to something more familiar and done a version of either Warcraft 3 or do the movie about Arthas or something like that, to just kind of keep the they could have kept it centered somewhere, but if we were movie directors,
movies based on video games don't have a great track record. That's just the bottom line of it. But that doesn't have to be the case. That's the thing.
No, it doesn't have to be the
case. So there's
some
sort of problem going from that game media to a movie that just keeps happening, and hopefully they figure that out and fix it so that doesn't happen anymore. All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody for supporting this show, for the conversation in the chat, and thank you especially to our Patreon supporters, Old Man Manson and our 2 anonymous superfans on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content. If you're listening after the fact on iTunes, we thank you for subscribing and reviewing our show on SoundCloud. We thank you for your follows and likes. And hey, feel free to join us next Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time or 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the live show where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ashenity, and on behalf of Cybsidian, thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you throughout the week and next week live on the podcast again. Have a good day, everybody.
And a quick reminder to click the link if you're interested in Planetfall Age of Wonders, and if you're interested in Bless Online, being in a guild, or playing with us, hop on our Discord.